Inspector Leonard.
The case you're about to see is a fictional one, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Detective Inspector James Leonard, Fulchester Police, Area Drug Squad.
Today's case in the Crown Court arises out of a police raid conducted by Inspector Leonard on the Mandala Club. The Mandala is a basement club on a main road near the centre of Fulchester. The police found drugs there, including 14 tablets of Zetamine, a restricted drug. The manager of the club, Gerald Peck, faces 2 charges under Section 5 of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, possession of a restricted drug and possession of the drug with intent to supply it to another. He pleads not guilty.
So you entered the premises with a warrant. What did you see when you went in?
Well, very little, sir. It was pitch black inside and there was some rather loud music playing. I saw one couple, young man and a young lady, lying in a mattress in the corner in a state of undress. And I noticed a strong smell of cannabis. There were 12 people on the premises, although we think another couple may have nipped out the back way as we came in. Anyway, we took the names and addresses of the 12 people and searched them.
And when you searched these people, what did you find?
Do you want a complete list or just the drugs?
Well, let's start with the drugs, shall we?
Yeah. Well, 3 of the individuals we searched were found to be in possession of cannabis. One of these also had a large quantity of sleeping tablets.
Now, apart from the drugs which you found on these 3 people, who are not in court today, did you find any drugs elsewhere on the premises?
Yes, sir. They were in a desk in the office at the back of the club. The key was found to be in the possession of a Mr. Gerald Peck.
Do you see this man in court?
Yes, sir. That's the man.
Well, which? Well, which is the man?
That one, my lord.
Thank you.
You found the key where, exactly?
In his trouser pocket when he was being searched. I asked him if this was a key to the desk. He refused to say. But when I moved to take the key to try it, he attempted to prevent me from doing so.
In what way? How did he resist?
He grabbed hold of my arm and shouted abuse. He had to be forcibly restrained.
So you took the key and opened the drawer. What did you find?
Yeah. May I consult my notes, my lord? Sorry, my lord.
Yes, Inspector, you may consult your notes.
14 tablets, red in colour, wrapped in silver paper. I also took away a cash box containing £33 and £1 notes.
The tablets and the money are here, my lord, exhibits 1 and 2. I also have copies of an agreed document, the police analyst's report on the tablets. You will see, my lord, that the analysis shows the tablets to be the compound known as Zetamine.
Yes, Mr. Fry, am I right in thinking that Zetamine is a Class B restricted drug?
Yes, my lord. You'll see from the agreed document. It's akin to amphetamine.
Yes, I think as far as the jury is concerned, all they need to know about Zetamine is that it is covered by the Act. Yes. Would you accept that, Mrs. Forrest?
Yes, my love.
Yes. All right, Mr. Fry.
Now, after you found these drugs, Inspector, what did you do?
No, I cautioned Mr. Peck and took him back to the station with the others, where he was invited to make a statement. He refused to do so.
He refused to make a statement?
Yes.
Well, did he make any explanation, any excuses?
No, sir.
What did he say?
Well, he said nothing at all, sir. He just asked to see a solicitor.
Well, did he offer to make a statement after he'd seen his solicitor?
No, sir.
Thank you, Inspector.
Inspector, why did you apply for a warrant to search the Mandala Club?
I had information that drugs were on the premises.
Oh, information from whom?
From one of my officers, Mum. He had visited the club in plain clothes.
Lord, if I may save the court's time, the officer in question will be called to give evidence.
I'm obliged, my learned friend. When you went to the club, how many men did you take with you?
6. And 2 women officers.
So, counting yourself, there were 9 of you.
Yes.
Any dogs?
Yes, Mum, 2 dogs.
9 police officers and 2 dogs. You came bursting into the club without warning. How were you received?
How do you mean, Mum?
Well, were the 12 people in the club, were they violent, angry, frightened, or what?
I couldn't really say, Mum.
You don't remember.
No, I don't.
But you did say that Mr. Peck grabbed your arm and shouted abuse.
Yes.
Yes. Was that reaction to being burst in upon by 9 police officers and 2 dogs and submitted to the indignity of a personal search, was that reaction exceptional, would you say?
Well, we got all sorts, you know.
Nothing out of the ordinary, then. Did you at any stage say, "Who's in charge here," or words to that effect?
Yes.
Yes. And did Mr. Peck reply that he was in charge?
Yes.
Did you then ask his permission to search the premises?
I showed him the warrant.
Did you ask his permission to search?
I showed him the warrant. I didn't need to ask permission.
You just went ahead with the search. Not very polite, very civilized, Inspector.
I didn't think I was dealing with very polite, civilized people, Mum.
So you had certain views about the sort of people you were dealing with before you found any drugs. You were, in fact, prejudiced towards them.
No, not
But it didn't
prejudiced.
surprise you that Mr. Peck grabbed your arm and shouted abuse. That's what you would have expected, is it?
Possibly, yes.
Because of the sort of people you were dealing with.
Yes, Mum.
So it was not necessarily an admission of guilt that he behaved in that way.
Ah. He was trying to prevent us from opening the drawer, presumably because he knew what was inside it.
What was in the drawer, Inspector?
14 tablets.
Yes, I know about the tablets in the cash box. What else?
There were some papers, I think. Stationery, that sort of thing.
Did you examine the papers in the drawer?
Not specially, no.
Did you find a small notebook? This notebook?
No.
But you don't deny that this notebook was in the drawer.
Could have been, but I was looking for drugs.
Inspector, when you hear what is in this notebook, you may well regret not having taken it along with your pills and your cash box. However, we will come to that, members of the jury. You would accept, would you, that this notebook was in the drawer when you searched it?
Mrs. Forrest, do you propose to submit that as an exhibit in the case?
Well, I'm reluctant to do that, my lad. This notebook was entrusted to me on the understanding of complete confidentiality.
As you please. But if it's not to be an exhibit, don't keep waving it at the witness.
My lad. Inspector, did your raid produce any evidence that drugs had been used or were being used on the premises?
We didn't actually find anybody in the act of taking drugs, no.
Well, did you find the remains of any cannabis cigarettes, for example?
No, but there was a smell.
Ah, which you associated with cannabis. Inspector, are you familiar with the smell of patchouli oil? It is a scent, a fashionable scent worn by a great many young women these days. I understand that it smells very much like cannabis. Could it have been patchouli oil that you smelled, Inspector?
I couldn't really say, Mum.
You don't know. But if it was cannabis you smelled, surely you would expect to find the remains of the cigarettes used to smoke it.
Well, the couple who nipped out the back way could have taken them. Or they might have eaten them.
Eaten the cigarette ends?
Swallowed them, yeah.
They do that, eat cigarette ends?
Has been known, yes.
But there's no evidence to suggest that anyone ate any cigarette ends on this occasion.
No.
Thank you.
Inspector, what is the total number of officers you would expect to take part in a drugs raid of this kind?
Between 5 and 10 varies.
So a total of 9, including women officers, would not be considered unusually large.
No, sir.
Now, these dogs you mentioned, what were they for?
Ah, they're Labradors.
Labradors.
Specially trained to sniff out drugs, in particular cannabis.
But not to seize or intimidate people.
No, sir, they wouldn't hurt a fly.
When you searched Mr. Peck, did he become violent and abusive before or after you found the key?
After.
So this was not a reaction to the raid as such, it was a reaction to your finding that incriminating key in his pocket.
My lad, I object. Mr. Fry is leading the witness.
Quite. Mr. Fry.
As your lordship pleases, you need not answer that question. Now, Inspector, it's been suggested that you were prejudiced against some of the young people who were in this club. Had you, in fact, come across any of them before?
One or two familiar faces, oh, yes.
Including Mr. Peck's?
My lord, I must object again. My client's character is being called into question. There's no bearing on this case.
Perhaps I might put it another way, my lord. Inspector, are you one of those policemen we sometimes hear about who meet some young person with unusually long hair or an unconventional form of dress and automatically assume they're up to no good?
No, sir, definitely not. My own son has rather long hair, as a matter of fact.
Mine, too. Well, I turn now to this mysterious notebook which my learned friend assures us was in the drawer along with the tablets and the money. Now, you say that you have no recollection of finding it.
That's right.
Was your search a thorough one?
Yes, sir, it was.
And has anybody since that time approached you with this notebook or made any reference to its existence?
No, sir.
No? And of course, you've no idea what might be in it.
No, sir.
Neither have I. No doubt we shall find out in due course. Now, about this smell you noticed, you identified it at the time as cannabis. That is, I presume, a smell with which you're familiar.
Very.
Did anybody at the time volunteer the ingenious explanation that this pervasive smell came from patchouli oil?
No, sir. I hadn't heard that one before. I must remember it.
Well, did any of the young ladies in the club appear to be wearing any particularly strong scent?
Not especially, no.
Nor any of the young men? No. And you did find cannabis in the possession of 3 of the people in the room?
We did.
Thank you, Inspector.
You may stand down, Inspector.
Constable Allard.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Detective Constable Ian Allard.
Detective Constable Allard, you were until recently plainclothes member of the Fulchester Drug Squad. Now, in the course of your activities in that role, did you go to the Mandala Club?
Many times, yeah.
What sort of club was it?
Well, it was generally known as a hangout for addicts, pushers, that sort of thing. What you call a resort of known criminals.
You say it was generally known, but did your observations confirm this?
Oh, yeah, people came in mostly to score.
Score?
Buy drugs, my lord.
See.
Now, Constable, did you see these transactions actually taking place?
Oh, yeah, it's quite openly, blatant, you know.
And was Mr. Peck there when this was going on?
It was sometimes, yeah.
Now, did Mr. Peck take part in these dealings in drugs?
Well, not in the club. He used to take them into the back.
Well, when he went into the office, could you see what was going on?
Yeah, there was a sort of curtain across, those plastic dangly strips. It was generally hitched to one side, but I could get a reasonable view if I parked myself close enough to the door. See, what I could see was Peck opening the desk drawer, taking things out and putting things in. I saw him handing people money, bound notes, fivers occasionally.
Mm-hmm. And were any of these people arrested after they left the club?
Well, I couldn't always arrange it like that. You see, the trouble was to get to a phone without blowing me cover. So, actually, I only managed it once.
Well, would you tell us what happened on that occasion?
Well, I saw this fella go into the back, into the office. Saw him talking to Peck for a couple of minutes. Then he come out. He was stuffing something in his pocket. Anyway, after a bit, he left the club and he went down the road. I followed him and he went into this cafe. So I nipped to a phone box and called the station. They sent one of their lads, one of their officers, to search this lad. Anyway, it turned out to be a £2 deal, as they call it. That's an amount of cannabis worth £2, my lord. He was fined 50.
Mm-hmm. And where did he say he got it from?
Milord, may I ask whether...
Just 1 minute. Just want to... Yes, Mrs. Forrest?
Milord, may I ask whether this witness, this man with the £2 deal, whether he's to be called, because what he said to some nameless police officer...
Yes, I take your point. Is he to be called?
No, we have attempted to trace this person, but without success.
I think we better leave it at that, Mr. Fry.
Very good, my lord. Constable, did you, in your role as a member of this drug-centred community, ever ask Mr. Peck about drugs, about buying them or selling them?
Yeah, I asked him if he could get me some charge.
Charge?
Cannabis.
Yes, all right. All right.
Now, don't tell me what he said to you, but as a result of what he said, did you make a report to your inspector which led directly to the raid we've heard described today?
Yes.
Thank you.
Detective Constable Allard, you described the Mandala Club as a haunt of known criminals. What did you mean by that exactly?
People who went there. Junkies, dealers, you know.
Drug addicts.
Yeah.
Young people with no money, no job, nowhere to go, involved with drugs, possibly seriously addicted, those sort of people.
Yeah, more or less.
Were you aware, Detective Constable Allard, that the Mandala was run with the intention of attracting precisely those people?
Well, they did very well then.
Were you aware that the club is run by a charitable trust which aims to help drug addicts and homeless young people? Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew there was some do-gooders involved with it.
Then perhaps you would agree with me that our do-gooders can hardly help addicts if the addicts don't go to the club in the first place.
Well, depends how they run the place, doesn't it?
Quite. Now, you saw Mr. Peck running the club. Now, how did he spend his time? What did he do?
Just went round, talking to people, chatting them up. One or two he'd taken aback, like I say.
Did he ever try and stop anything happening in the club? For example, did he ever intervene to stop anyone smoking drugs?
Yeah, there was a guy started rolling a joint. He told him not to.
Did he ever order anybody out when you were there?
There was a fella had a knife, was waving it about. I told him to get out.
Ah. Now, this dealing which you say took place, how many arrests resulted from your observation of this?
Just the one I said, you know.
Oh, well, why was that? You gave the impression it was an everyday occurrence. Didn't you identify any of these dealers, these pushers, to your colleagues?
Well, it's not always as easy as that. You see, it's all done in little huddles in the corner, sort of thing.
There was no one you could later point to and say that man is a drug pusher.
Not as such, no.
Constable Allard, I suggest that you observed no deals going on. That, in fact, in all you saw were groups of friends engaged in conversation.
Now, there was stuff changing hands, definitely.
But you couldn't see who handed it to whom in the dark in these huddles in the corner.
Not exactly, no.
Then how do you know it changed hands at all?
Well, you can tell. You can always tell.
Or how can you tell?
Well, it's the attitude. You know, it's furtive, you know.
The way they looked.
Yeah.
And the fact that you knew or believed them to be dealers, junkies, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
In fact, your policeman's prejudice and a bit of imagination. Quite. Tell me, Constable Allard, about the one arrest which actually resulted from your observations. The occasion when you followed the young man into the cafe and then summoned your colleague. Did you, or any police officer, search the young man immediately before he went into the Mandala?
No, of course not.
Of course not. So far as your observations were concerned, he could have had the drug in his possession before he went in to see Mr. Peck.
Ah, that's not what he said.
Yes or no? I want to know what you actually saw.
Well, yes, it could, but...
Did you actually see him give Mr. Peck the drug?
No.
Did you actually see him give him any money?
No.
Finally, Constable Allard, let me turn to your interview with Mr. Peck when you set your little trap for him. You said, could he get you some charge? I take it he didn't get you any.
No, he didn't.
In fact, I believe he laughed, and he indicated that he knew you for what you were, a policeman in disguise. Is that
What he
not so?
actually said was, I got a pointed head.
A reference to the shape of the constable's helmet. In fact, he thought it was all a bit of a joke.
Yeah, he did.
So, having been blown, as the saying goes, you decided, with your inspector and your colleagues, that the only thing to do was to turn out in force and launch a full-scale raid.
No, look, it
But
wasn't...
your undercover operation had got you nowhere, had it? One arrest, a 2 quid deal, no more. No pushers behind bars. I suggest that this raid was a desperate attempt to salvage something from a failed operation. Is that not so?
Well, it's not for me to say. I think we got the main man in the end.
That's not for you to say, though, is it? Thank you, Constable.
Constable Allard, you described the Mandala Club as a resort of known criminals. Now, did you mean exactly that?
Yes, sir.
That people who went to the club were known to the police and that they had criminal records for drug offences?
That's right.
Now, were these the people who went into the office of Mr. Peck?
Some of them, yes.
Yeah? Now, the drawer which you saw Mr. Peck opening and closing on these occasions, was this the same drawer which we now know to have contained a quantity of illicit drugs?
Yes. And I saw him putting things in and taking things out, don't forget.
So you did, indeed. Now, did you ever see Mr. Peck search anybody for drugs at the club? Or did you ever see him take drugs away from anybody?
No.
Mm-hmm. Did you see anything to suggest, as my learned friend has just said, that he was in fact helping these addicts?
No, I didn't. Well, depends what you mean by helping, doesn't it?
Yes, it does indeed. Now, as an undercover man, if I may use that phrase, what was your brief? How did you occupy your time?
Hanging around with junkies, going into pubs, clubs, so on. Getting to know them, talking to them.
And how many arrests and convictions resulted from your activities at this time?
Oh, I suppose a couple of dozen, one way or another.
Including arrests for supplying drugs, for pushing?
Oh, yeah, most, probably.
Then, is my learned friend right to say, as she just has done, that your undercover operation was a failure?
I don't think so.
Do you, in fact, by this time know a good deal about the drug underworld in this town?
More than most, I should think.
So, your assessment of a club, of what goes on there in connection with drugs, would that be based upon your long-term observation and experience? Or would it be based upon what my learned friend has called policeman's prejudice and a bit of imagination?
Now, I've lived with junkies for 3 months. I know who uses what and where they get it from. I know which clubs are bent and which are just careless. Now, I'm convinced the Mandala's bent and that Peck is bent. And there's your proof.
The Queen Against Peck continues tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is a fictional one, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the public.
The evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
This is Gerald Peck, the manager of a basement club in Fulchester called the Mandala Club. On February the 28th this year, there was a police raid on the club, which one detective has called a haunt of known criminals and drug takers. The police found various drugs there, including 14 tablets of Zetamine, a restricted drug. Gerald Peck is charged with possessing the drug and also possessing it with intent to supply it to another. He pleads not guilty.
Mr. Peck, you are one of a number of people who helped to run the Mandala Club. Who actually owns the club?
The Ad Trust.
Short for Addicts Aid, a charitable trust?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What's the object of running the club and what do you do there?
Well, we try and keep the kids off the streets, you know, give them a chance to sort themselves out. A lot of kids wandering around, no jobs to go to, nowhere to go, so they start taking pills, you know, messing their heads up. So we try and sort them out. Get a lot of chicks getting pregnant, you know, trying to do themselves in, that kind of thing.
Would you describe yourself as a sort of voluntary social worker?
Well, not really, no, more of a sort of friend in need, really.
That's very modest. But you feel your efforts are worthwhile, though?
Yeah, most of the time. Well, some of the time, anyway.
In this job, being a friend in need, is this something a full-time social worker could do?
Well, not really, no. I mean, they've had enough of all those straights, you know, the same bag as, like, teachers and social workers. They've had all that. They don't want to know, you know.
You feel that in order to communicate with them, you have to be almost one of them?
Well, not one of them, no. Just really know what they're on about, you know. They've got to trust you that you're not going to be running down the nick every 5 minutes letting onto the squad, you know.
It's rather like being a priest hearing confession, yes?
Well, it's not exactly bless me, Father, for I have sinned. More like lend us a couple of quid till my gyro comes through. I suppose the principle's the same, yeah. Well, they've got to trust you, which means you've got to trust them, right?
I see. Do they discuss their problems with you?
Yeah, that's the idea, yeah.
And do these problems include problems with drugs?
Sometimes, yeah.
What sort of problems?
Well, maybe one of them's been busted, so we discuss what they can say in court, right? Or maybe somebody's been overdoing it a bit, so we try and sort that out. Or if somebody's been taken into casualty, right, full of downers.
Downers are...
slang for barbiturates.
Barbiturates.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Peck.
Well, say somebody's taken into casualty with an overdose, right? I usually handle all the flack with the doctors, you know. Usually tell them it's a suicide attempt. Then they don't bother. It's quite funny, that, actually, because if you're dosed up to the eyeballs for pleasure, then you get into all sorts of trouble. But if it's a suicide attempt, then all they do is pump your stomach out and send you home. It's a fact, that.
What about the young people addicted to drugs? Do you try to get them off it?
Well, it's not that easy, really. You can't just say, well, no more naughty pills for you, my lad. It's not going to work. You see, addiction is a symptom, yeah? Anybody gets addicted, you can bet that there's something else wrong, apart from the drugs, that is. So we try and find out what that is and start with that. It's like somebody getting heavily into boozing, right? You can always bet there's something wrong. You know, either they've just lost their job or their marriage isn't working out too well. Whatever, you know.
So you attempt to help them with their problems, and in doing so, to cure the addiction?
Well, nobody cures a drug addict. He's got to cure himself. That's if he's strong enough, if he wants to, that is. All you can do is give him a chance, really. Sometimes they get over it just like that. You never quite know whether you've done any good. You just keep on trucking, you know.
You've heard it suggested by the police witnesses in this case that the Mandala was a haunt of known criminals. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, dead right. I mean, if you're into drugs, then sooner or later you're going to get busted, right? And when you get busted, then you become a known criminal. We just try and help the kids in trouble, you know. You can't stand on the door and say, have you ever been in trouble with the police? Yes, sorry, you can't come in.
Did people bring drugs into the club?
Not that... Sometimes, maybe, yes.
Well, did it occur to you to search people before admitting them?
Well, then they wouldn't come in, would they? I mean, if we were the only club in town where you had to empty your pockets on the door, then they'd go somewhere else. I mean, it's bad enough as it is, trying to get the kids in without the squad hanging around like a bad smell. Sorry, lads, no offence.
What did you do if you saw people inside the club with drugs? For instance, if you saw them smoking cannabis?
Well, I'd tell them to knock it off, you know, put it away for their own protection.
Did people come to the Mandala to buy and sell drugs?
Well, not if they had any sense, no. Last place I'd go, I can tell you, very bad idea.
Well, it would undoubtedly be a bad idea wherever one did it. Why particularly at the Mandala?
Well, there's a squad hanging around the whole time, like Sherlock Holmes there. Police Constable Allard. He used to come around in his, like, brand new plimsolls, you know, going up to everyone and said, excuse me, do you have any charge upon you?
Yes. You're saying, then, that no drug dealing took place in the Mandala?
Not that I know of, no.
And if you had known of it?
Well, I'd have told him to shove off and do it somewhere else.
Do you recall the incident to which Constable Allard referred when he followed the young man out of the club, the young man later found to be in possession of cannabis?
Yeah. I'll tell you what happened there, shall I? One night, this guy comes in, right? I've never seen him before in my life. He comes up to me and says, Jerry, is it? So I said, yes, that's right. So he said, can I borrow a couple of quid? So I says no, because I'd never seen the guy before. So then he says, do I want to score? So I said, well, what have you got? So he says, well, I'm into a weight of paki, right?
A weight of paki?
Yeah, that's a pound weight of cannabis resin, yeah. So I tell him I'm not interested. So he pulls out this sample, like a small piece of it, right? So I told him again I wasn't interested, told him to shove off. End of story.
When this man was arrested in possession of a small amount of cannabis, he evidently gave the police the impression that he obtained it from you. Can you explain that?
Yes. Well, I mean, if he's got a load of it stashed away and he's dealing, right, he doesn't want anyone to know. You see, if you get caught with just a little piece of it, all they ever want to know is where did you get it from. So he gives them a name. That's all they want, is a name. Just happened to give them mine, that's all.
This man asked you for a loan. Was it generally known that you would loan money to people?
Yeah, I suppose it must have been, yeah. Well, the kids get short every now and again, so we bung them a couple of quid. In fact, the trust has now what we call a discretionary fund, which means that you can bung out a couple of quid in a deserving case. No, not on a permanent basis, you know. We keep a record of who's had what. It's in the book over.
In this notebook?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Did you ever get your money back?
Well, sometimes, yeah. You never push really too hard for it because otherwise they won't come back, so sometimes it got written off, yeah.
Constable Allard says he saw you in your office opening and shutting your desk drawer, handing out and receiving money. Can you explain that?
Well, yes. Either I was lending them money or they were paying me back money that they'd borrowed.
Mr. Peck, how did those drugs come to be in your drawer?
Ah. Zetamin, right? It's a kind of, it's an amphetamine. It's a type of speed. And now, the thing is with your speed freaks, right, they like to talk a lot, yeah? And also very prone to paranoia. So, one night, this guy comes in, right? Never seen him before, speeding away. So I thought, okay, well, if he goes out back on the street, he's going to get busted. So I think, okay, well, I'll try and play on this paranoia bit. So I said to him, listen, man, if you go out there, they're going to be waiting for you, right? And I tell him that, you know, if he gets caught and the drug and the pills are in his possession, well, then that's going to be it, right? So I said, why didn't he hand them to me? So he gave them to me and went, and I put them in the drawer. That's how the uppers come to be there.
Uppers?
Yeah, it's amphetamine. It's a type of, we call them uppers, right?
Yes. And you're saying you took these drugs away from this man for his own protection and locked them away?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I see. All right, Mrs. Forrest.
What were your intentions in regard to these tablets? I mean, did you intend to keep them or what?
No, I was going to flush them down the toilet.
This notebook, why don't you want the police to see it?
Well, it's full of the names of people who come down to the club, you know, their problems, what drugs they're using, stuff like that. Every now and again, the people who run the club, we all get together and discuss how people are progressing.
And what would happen if the police got hold of this information?
Well, like I said, it's all information about the drugs, people pinching things. Get a lot of people in trouble, could that?
So, what were your feelings when Inspector Leonard went to open the desk drawer which contained this notebook?
Well, I was a bit worried, not about the drugs, just about the book, that's all.
And when you were cautioned, why didn't you give the explanation you've just given me?
Well, there's a piece of advice I always give to people when they get busted, is say nothing. Because whatever you say is going to be taken down and messed around with something rotten. It's what they call verbals, that's right, isn't it, lads? When questioned, the accused answered, fair cop, Governor.
But you could have made a written statement.
No, listen, all I was worried about was the notebook, right? So I thought, OK, let them think they've got me sorted out. So I'll get me bail, get back to the club, put the notebook somewhere safe.
Inspector Leonard says that when he entered the club, he could smell cannabis. Can you account for that?
Well, maybe he's got a very good imagination. I doubt it, I don't know.
Was anyone, to your knowledge, smoking cannabis?
No.
And as to the three who were allegedly found in possession of it, did you know they had it?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Peck, you told my learned friend that the drugs were in the drawer, the key was in your pocket, and that you knew they were there. In short, you were in possession of those drugs, weren't you?
Well...
They were in your possession, yes or no?
Well, technically, yes.
Yes, will do. And now, did you obtain these drugs on prescription from a doctor, yes or no?
No, come on, I told you.
No, very well. I'm just trying to establish exactly where we stand.
I told you I was going to get rid of them.
So you say. Now, you say that you obtained these drugs from a young man. Would you kindly tell us this young man's name? I shall ask the question again. What is the name of the man from whom you claim you obtained these Zetamin tablets?
You must answer the question, Mr. Peck.
I don't know his full name, I just know his Christian names, OK?
Well, would you tell us his Christian name?
Andy.
Andy? Now, where does Andy live, Mr. Peck?
He dosses around, you know? Stays with whoever will put up with him for a couple of days.
Well, where was he living when you last heard of him?
I don't Listen, do I have to answer all this stuff?
Yes, you do. Look, Mr. Peck, you've taken an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth.
Thank you, my lord. Now, Mr. Peck, will you please tell us Andy's last known address?
I don't know.
Well, are we to meet this friend of yours? Shall we be hearing evidence from him in support of what you've been telling us about him?
Listen, how's he going to come here and admit to taking pills and shooting up on the whole rest of it? Listen, you think I'm going to put him in this box and have you tear him to pieces? No way, man. Paranoid enough as it is without this crowd around.
So what it comes down to is we only have your word for it, that there's any truth in this about taking drugs away from someone for his own good. It's just your story, isn't it? Indeed, we've only your word for it that this rather shadowy individual exists at all. How long had the tablets been in the drawer when the police found them?
Oh, I don't know, maybe,
A week, 2 weeks, a month?
maybe a week.
And you weren't in any hurry to flush them down the toilet, were you?
I was going to.
How often a week do you go to the toilet, Mr. Peck? Oh, never mind. What it comes down to once more is that we only have your word for it that you had any intention of destroying these tablets. Just your word. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes!
Have you ever taken drugs?
Millard, I don't see the relevance of that question.
Well, relevant or not, I rather think it might be prejudicial. Don't you think so, Mr. Fry?
As your lordship pleases. Mr. Peck, do you approve of taking drugs?
No. Well, not hard drugs, anyway.
You approve of what you would call soft drugs?
I think the law on cannabis resin is out of date. I think pot should be made legal, yes.
You think pot should be made legal?
Yes, incidentally, a lot of people agree with that, you know. In fact, in certain states in America,
Millard,
right.
if my client will forgive me, this is all irrelevant.
No, this is interesting. Will you please continue, Mr. Fry?
So you have no objection to dealing in cannabis? You have no objection to indulging in cannabis?
No.
And that's what you would do, isn't it? With your friends down at the Mandala Club?
No, listen, I don't agree with the law on pot, right? I don't think pot does any harm. But there's one very bad thing it can do for you, right? It can put you in jail, so I don't use it, right?
Can you tell me this? Why would a total stranger imagine that you would be interested in buying a large quantity of cannabis? Because that's also your story, isn't it? That this young man who was arrested coming out of your office with cannabis in his pocket hadn't been buying cannabis, he'd been trying to sell it. Is that your story?
Yes, that's right. That's what he was trying to do. I don't know why. Maybe he'd heard that the place was a hangout for heads, drug users. I don't know.
But he asked for you by name.
Yes?
You, specifically, he knew that you were the man to go to, the man who deals in drugs.
No, man, wrong, no.
Then why? Why you, Mr. Peck?
I have no idea.
Is that the best you can do?
Yes.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you disapprove of dealing in drugs?
It depends.
You told my learned friend, when she asked you, what you would do if you found somebody in your club dealing in drugs, that you would advise the dealer to go somewhere else, somewhere he was less likely to be arrested. Now, that suggests to me that you approve of drug dealing.
Listen, man,
that you would wish to protect the dealer from the law.
There is no difference between a drug user and a drug dealer, especially at street level, right? Anyone who uses drugs buys a bit, sells a bit, right? I don't think you deserve to go to jail just because you sell a couple of drawers, right?
So what it comes down to is that you, running a club which you say aims to help drug addicts, don't mind how much they buy drugs, how much they sell drugs, how much they take drugs, so long as they don't get caught.
You don't help these kids by putting them in jail. They're not criminals, right?
So you give them shelter, you give them money.
Yes, sometimes, yes.
Money to buy more drugs.
No, come on, it's to get a meal, to get a decent
Oh, for
place to-
heaven's sake, Mr. Peck, how do you know what they're going to spend the money on? They're addicts, aren't they? They're likely to buy more drugs.
Well, anything's possible, I suppose, yes.
Yes, and if they want a particular brand, rather urgently, you've got to supply to hand.
No, I do not give people drugs, wrong.
I'm not suggesting that you've been giving people drugs, Mr. Peck. I'm suggesting that you've been selling people drugs. And that's what it all amounts to, your whole attitude to drugs and to the police, the supply of drugs in the drawer, the box full of money. It all adds up to just one conclusion, doesn't it, Mr. Peck?
I told you, didn't I?
Your story, Mr. Peck, unsupported by one shred of evidence. Your story.
There are just 2 points arising from my learned friend's cross-examination, which I want to clarify for the members of the jury. The first point relates to the one and only case of alleged drug dealing on your part. The case of the young man with a cannabis resin in his pocket. You have explained that this young man tried to sell you a quantity of cannabis. He certainly didn't buy any. And my learned friend asked you, why should a complete stranger think that you would be interested in buying drugs? Let me refer you to your earlier evidence on this point. The man came to see you and asked if you were Jerry.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
you said he asked you for a loan.
That's right, yeah, and I said no because I didn't know the guy, right?
Well, what was his reasoning for approaching you?
Well, I think he wanted to score some bread. Maybe he heard I was a soft touch, I don't know. So the guy's line is, right, well, he's got a fair weight to shift, right? He's going to be selling it to maybe 50, 100 people in the street that he doesn't know. So he comes up to me and he thinks, well, if this guy doesn't look too straight, which I don't, maybe I can score a couple of quid. And if that doesn't work, look, see, I've got a reputation, or whatever, that I'm not going to grass on anybody, right? So maybe somebody told him that. So he can't lose, whatever he does, right?
Quite. Let me turn now to the second point. When Inspector Leonard was giving evidence, my learned friend asked him whether he knew you as a familiar face. Now, the question was withdrawn because I objected to it. But it had been asked. No doubt the members of the jury remember it. They may have wondered at the time why it was asked. Indeed, they may have wondered why the police thought it necessary to have you watched by a policeman in disguise. Constable Allard. No smoke without fire. Again, a few moments ago, my learned friend asked whether you had ever taken drugs. And again, the learned judge directed that you need not answer the question. Now, the reason for all this is quite simple. If the jury were to hear that you had been convicted before of drug offences, they might be inclined to believe you were guilty again. The knowledge would be prejudicial to your case. But that suggestion has already been made in a couple of broad hints by my colleague here.
Lord, I object. I had no intention of hinting anything about previous convictions. Thought never crossed my mind. It's my learned friend who brings the matter up.
Perhaps you come to the point and ask your question, Mrs. Weiss. I take it you have got a question after all this.
As your lordship pleases. The matter of my client's previous relationship with the police is, I think, relevant to this case. I think it will do a great deal to explain his attitude to drugs, which may appear unduly knowledgeable for one who does not use them, and his attitude to the police, which may appear unduly hostile for one who is not a criminal. Do you mind if I ask this question, Mr. Peck?
No, far away.
Have you ever been in trouble before for drug offences?
Yes, many, many times, yes.
Will you tell the court about that?
Well, how far would you like me to go back?
Well, when did you first come across drugs? How old were you?
Must have been about 14. We used to go down to these cafes, used to call them coffee bars in those days. Now, the scheme was to skive off school in the afternoons, right, and get yourself down to the coffee bar, plant yourself under the bullfighting poster, right, with this one cup of coffee going to last you all day, right? Nice, cool pair of shades on. Now, here's where the trouble starts. If you really want to be impressive, what you do is get a little matchbox full of aspirins, right? So you're sitting there, right, cool as anything, just popping these pills into your mouth, right? And people come up to you and they're saying, wow, man, what do you want, you know? So you just look at them, right, really mysteriously, and just pop another pill in, right? Then then we run to Purple Hearts, that's right. Then that was down in the all-nighters, you know, like in the basement caverns and stuff. And then you used to pop pills to stay awake all night. So you'd be looning around till about 6 o'clock in the morning. Go home, have your breakfast, and then kip through till the next night. Put away 15 or 16 amphetamines, you could stay awake for days. Eventually, they closed all those down. Must have been the pills, I suppose. Then everyone was into pot. Yeah, that's right. That was like the kind of start of the flower power stuff, you know, all the hippie jazz. And I never used to call them hippies in those days. It used to be dossers, right? So I dossed around quite a bit. Used to have all the gear, you know, beard, long hair, story of my life in a paper bag. I think actually the first time I got busted for cannabis was for having it in my boot.
In the boot of your car?
No, in the boot of my foot.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, go on.
Anyway, then what? Yes. Right, then I run into this character called, believe it or not, Frenchie, right? Now, this guy is ultra cool. He's like somebody I wanted always to be like, you know, suave, intellectual, cool. So I'm pestering the guy, right, to find out what he's on. So I'm saying, what do you want, man, acid or what, you know? So he's saying, doesn't say anything, just rolls up his sleeves and shows me these marks on his arm. And gives me this look, like saying, well, a bit out of your league, sunshine. So, of course, then I'm really more and more interested to find out what it's all about. So I'm pestering him for about 2 weeks or so. And then one day he says, a bit short of a couple of greens. So he sells me a fix, right? So then I'm hooked. So then I'm dealing for him and I'm scoring a bit for myself. And I'm working really hard, you know, to be a really good junkie. I'm rushing up to him saying, say, man, I'm hitting the main line every time, Frenchie. What do you say? So then I was hooked. And I stayed hooked for about 6 years.
The Queen Against Peck continues tomorrow in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see is a fictional one, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public.
You say that for 6 years you were a junkie. Can you explain that word?
Yeah, drug addict. I was on heroin from 1966, finally kicked it 1972.
And when was it that you helped to set up the Mandala Club? To help other drug addicts?
1974.
This is Gerald Peck, the manager of a club called the Mandala. The club is run by the Aid Trust, an organisation set up to help drug addicts. Earlier this year, there was a police raid on the club, and in a locked drawer, the police found 14 tablets of Zetamine, a restricted drug. The prosecution claims that Peck intended to sell them or give them away illegally. The defence claims that he took them away from a drug addict and intended to destroy them. Gerald Peck has now told the court that he is himself a former drug addict.
You have been an addict and you have managed to cure yourself. How do you feel now about addictive drugs?
Well, pretty helpless, really. Get a lot of these kids, 16, 17-year-olds start skin popping just to say they've done it. You get others, one or two, well, you know that with them they're going to go the whole way. So it's going to be barbiturate tablets, and then it's going to be dope and alcohol. And they become unconscious, and they vomit, and they choke on their own vomit. Or there's that stuff there, Zetamine, speed. Now, with them, it's going to be grinding it up, mixing it with water, and injecting it straight into the vein. And the vein swells up, and they get an embolism. And if you're lucky, your leg comes off, and if you're not, well, then you're dead. The way I feel about drugs is this. They're a very shortcut route to where you want to be, right? If you want to feel nice and relaxed and laid back, then dope can do that for you, right? No sweat. Now, if you want to be dead, then it's a very quick shortcut to suicide. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like a knife or a gun, right? They're not harmful in themselves. It's how you use them. I mean, you can use them for good or bad, right?
Thank you.
Lord, I should like to cross-examine on the new evidence concerning the defendant's previous convictions.
Oh, do you have any objections, Mrs. Forrest?
No, Milan.
No? Very well, Mr. Pryor.
Mr. Peck, you've told the court that you have been convicted of possessing drugs. Have you also been convicted of supplying drugs to other people?
Yes, not heroin, though.
Have you ever been sent to prison for these offences?
Yeah, 3 years. Served 18 months. That's when I straightened myself up.
Well, what was the charge on that conviction?
Dealing acid, LSD.
Have you ever been in trouble since then?
Yeah, I had one bust about 2 months after I came out. That was about a 20 quid fine, I think.
So you didn't give up drugs after you came out of prison?
Well, I'd given up heroin. I was smoking occasionally, mainly just for social reasons. But since I've been down to Mandala, I haven't smoked. Got to stay clean, right?
Right. You can go back to the dock now, Mr. Peck.
I call Arthur Bevis. Mr. Bevis, you are the chairman of the Aid Trust, the charitable organisation which runs the Mandala Club.
That's right. I was involved in setting up the club, along with Jerry and one or two other people, in 1974. The trust was set up, actually, by a very wealthy local man, a builder, after his youngest son died of an overdose of drugs.
Will you tell us how Mr. Peck came to be involved in running the club?
I first met Jerry at Conway House. That's a home for ex-prisoners, a sort of communal rehabilitation centre. He came to the club as just another ex-prisoner. He ended up helping to run the place. He seemed to be able to get through to people on their own terms, if you understand me. He was particularly good with those who had any sort of drink or drugs problem. Infinite patience. He'd talk to them or listen to them for hours. And of course there was a particular reason for that in his own history. He had himself suffered addiction. So when I was appointed chairman of the Ad Aid Trust, I naturally turned to Jerry. It was his idea, actually, to set up a club on the open door principle. It seems to have worked very well.
How far is the club's success due to Mr. Peck?
Oh, completely. He's the central figure. As I say, he's on their wavelength. Must be a good many young people wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for Jerry.
Did you attend meetings with Mr. Peck and others concerning the young people he'd been working with, what a social worker would call case conferences?
Oh, yes. We found this most helpful generally.
And at these conferences, did Mr. Peck ever refer to a notebook?
He did have things written down, yes. Who'd been coming into the club, various details about them. Yes, that looks like Jerry's little red book.
Bearing in mind that Mr. Peck is a former addict, as he's told us himself, do you now trust him completely to work with young people?
Oh, completely, yes.
Do you think it possible that he might have gone back to using drugs or supplying them to other people?
Absolutely no. Never in a million years, no.
Thank you.
Mr. Peck. Mr. Bevis. Did you give Mr. Peck his job as manager of the Mandala Club?
Well, we set it up between us.
But as trust chairman, technically you were his employer.
Yes.
Did you know when you gave him this job that he'd been to prison for drug offences?
I did.
Did you know that these included offences for dealing in drugs?
No, not specifically.
You didn't think to find out?
No.
Well, now you'll find yourself in court, Mr. Bevis. Your protégé now once again charged with dealing in drugs under cover of the job you gave him. It makes you look a bit foolish, doesn't it?
No, because I don't believe he's guilty. I trusted him. I still do.
Well, he's a very plausible man, isn't he? Did you have any references when he took this job? Anybody to vouch for his good character?
Well, Mr. Heppel at Conway House spoke very highly of him. He was extremely impressed.
Oh, yes. Conway House, the rehabilitation centre for ex-prisoners. Mr. Heppel's the manager of Conway House, isn't he? It's his job to find employment for ex-prisoners, so if he found employment for Mr. Peck, he was doing his job. No wonder he was willing to give him a glowing reference.
I don't think that's entirely fair to Mr. Heppel.
And no wonder that you're willing to back up your judgment by going into the witness box, because, Mr. Bevis, if that man is guilty, then so are you. Of gross negligence. Let me ask you this. Can you account for the money that was found in the drawer at the Mandala Club, £33 in a cash box?
Oh, yes. The trust workers are allowed to make discretionary grants. They have a month's cash supply for this purpose. They're allowed to advance anything up to £5 to any one individual in any 1 month.
And how much are they allowed altogether in any 1 month?
£30.
£30. So the most that should be in the drawer at any one time would be £30 at the beginning of the month.
That's right.
Then how is it at the end of February there were no less than £33?
Well, I don't know. It's quite possible. All sorts of possibilities.
Well, do you think you could offer an explanation?
Well, I don't know. I suppose Jerry could have received the March allowance and added it to what was left of February's. Well, that's probably the reason.
Is that normal practice?
No. Normally, he'd hand in the previous month's accounts and a statement showing how he'd spent the money, plus any surplus. But can't really keep the accounts absolutely straight. You see, a lot of the money's advanced as loans, which can be paid back at any time, so The cash balance might be over £30 or under £30. It's a system that's based on trusting the social worker concerned.
But Mr. Peck is not a social worker, is he?
No, not as such, no.
No. Is Mr. Peck well paid for what he does?
Well, put it this way, he's certainly not in the job for money. To be frank, the wages are pittance.
Has he ever asked you for an increase?
Not as far as I know, no.
Or a loan, perhaps, since the trust seems to go in for lending money? Has he ever approached you for a loan?
No, I don't think so. We could probably let him have a few pounds if he needed it.
But he didn't ask, did he? Doesn't that surprise you?
Well, I don't know.
It suggests, does it not, that he's getting money from somewhere else?
I don't understand. Where? Oh, I see. You think he's been selling drugs. The answer is no. Absolutely no.
Mr. Peck seems to disagree rather strongly with the law on drugs. In particular, he thinks that cannabis should be legalized. Is that your view?
Well, I don't know enough about the subject to comment one way or the other.
Was it not rather irresponsible of you to appoint a man to this job who, by his own admission, approves of drug taking?
Well, his views are his own affair. You should ask him about it.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Bevis. If you were a landowner, would you employ a gamekeeper who saw nothing wrong with poaching?
Well, I don't think that's a fair comparison.
The jury may feel that it is.
Mr. Bevis, you know as well as anyone the system of accounting and so on at the Mandala Club, is that right?
I suppose so, yes.
And the fact that Mr. Peck had £33 in his desk, does that strike you as odd or suspicious?
Oh, no. As I say, the amount would vary, but Jerry kept very careful accounts, and he'd report back to the committee about every penny. He'd have everything written down there.
You have told us that Mr. Peck was not well off. Would you say that he showed signs of having another source of income?
No, he didn't care much for material possessions. He spent very little.
Now, you knew that Mr. Peck had been to prison when you gave him the job. Suppose you had known that his offence was dealing LSD. Would it have made any difference? Would you still have given him the job?
Yes, I would. When he went to jail, that man was a junkie, a hopeless case. He would lie, steal, and sell drugs to get the money to pay for a fix. That's what it means to be a junkie. But he kicked the habit, and that made him into a different person. He's simply not the same man. The details of his past life are irrelevant. The Gerald Peck I know would never take drugs ever, and he would certainly never supply them to others. His whole life has been devoted to getting kids away from drugs. So this charge it's ludicrous.
May it please your lordship, members of the jury. Gerald Peck is accused of possessing drugs and of supplying drugs to another. Well, let us take first of all the evidence of possession, which could hardly be more conclusive. Inspector Leonard says that he found a supply of Zetamine tablets in a drawer at the Mandala Club, and the key to that drawer was in Mr. Peck's pocket. Now, that is not disputed. Of course, he has rather late in the day come up with an explanation. He says that he took these tablets from a young man called Andy, so that Andy wouldn't have to go to prison. All very innocent, he says now. But consider his reaction at the time. No sooner did the police find that key than he was abusing them, fighting with them, behaving in every way like a guilty and frightened man. And confronted with the evidence, not a word. Once again, you may think the reaction of a guilty man. So now let us come to the evidence of supplying drugs to others. What sort of place was the Mandala Club under Mr. Peck's management? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's the sort of club you would want your son or daughter to go to for a night out. Inspector Leonard found noise, darkness, a young couple making love in a corner, a smell of cannabis, and 3 young people with cannabis in their pocket. Detective Constable Allard says that the place was a known haunt of drug takers and drug dealers, and he'd been there, he'd mixed with the clientele, he'd seen all this going on. Now, Mr. Peck encouraged drug users to come to the club, but when they got there, he didn't search them, he let them get on with it. The one thing he absolutely refused to do was to cooperate with the police in their attempts to control the drug problem. You see, Mr. Peck doesn't think that people should be sent to prison for selling drugs. Apparently, he thinks they should be allowed to go on selling them. Though, if any of his friends at the Mandala Club were becoming too blatant in their activities in dealing in drugs, there he would advise them to go somewhere else, somewhere they were less likely to be arrested, and that was his way of helping drug addicts. You may think he was too helpful by half. Now consider his background. He said that he has in the past been a drug addict and a drug dealer. He would have you believe that after 6 years of this, he saw the light and turned his back on the whole sordid business. But what is the truth of the matter? No sooner was he out of prison, claiming to be a reformed character, than he finds himself in court once again, pleading guilty to possession of cannabis. And the next thing he does is to get himself a job in which he has to mix with every junkie in town. Now, is that really the action of a man who's turned his back on drugs? Do you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Because if you do, you must be as gullible as that well-meaning but misguided man, Mr. Bevis. Now, Mr. Bevis, you'll recall, said that the Gerald Peck he knows is a different person from the Gerald Peck known to the law. Well, that's his view. But you have seen Mr. Peck and you've heard what he had to say about drugs. He said, if you want to feel good, dope can do it for you. That's his attitude to drugs. When he was asked what sort of help he gives to drug addicts, he said, they've maybe been busted, so we can talk about what they can say in court. He gave me another example. He said, if they were taken into hospital with an overdose, he said he would be prepared to lie to the doctors about why they'd taken the drugs. He was asked what about curing addicts, and he says nobody cures an addict. An addict cures himself, if he wants to. He told me he sees no objection to dealing in or indulging in cannabis. He gives people money, kindly supplied by Mr. Bevis, and sees nothing wrong in them using it for buying drugs. He said as much himself. Now, that's his approach to his job. Now, given all this, is it surprising that there's a supply of Zetamine tablets in his drawer, and that known drug dealers go into his office and the money changes hands? Given Mr. Peck's attitude to drugs and the sort of club he ran, is it surprising that a young man goes in there, asks for him by name, and then comes out shoving a piece of cannabis resin into his back pocket? And what a flimsy excuse the defense offered on this one, ladies and gentlemen. This young man, they said, was a complete stranger who'd gone in there to try and sell drugs. Now, I ask you, members of the jury, do complete strangers come up to you and offer to sell drugs? What about the money? £33 in used £1 notes. Was this the so-called discretionary fund, or was it simply evidence of dealing in drugs? Mr. Bevis told you about the discretionary fund, £30 a month maximum. So at the end of the month, you'd expect there to be very little left, but no, there is no less than £33 in the box. Oh, it's all written down in the accounts, says Mr. Bevis, but are we allowed to see those accounts? No, we are not, ladies and gentlemen. We're not allowed to see that notebook in case it should get some of Mr. Peck's friends into trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, what you do not see is not evidence, and what is not evidence, you must ignore. Finally, I come to this extraordinary explanation that the drugs have been taken from a young man called Andy for his own protection. But, ladies and gentlemen, we haven't been allowed to see Andy. We don't even know his surname. We don't even know where he lives. And so we're left with Mr. Peck's word that he came by the drugs in this manner, and that he intended to destroy them as soon as possible. He intended to flush them down the toilet, he said. Then, if he really intended that, why did he keep them for a full week? How much longer would he have kept them if the club hadn't been raided? Well, I can think of only two explanations. Either he wanted to keep them for his own use, or he intended to give or sell them to someone else. You ask yourselves that question, members of the jury. Why did Mr. Peck hang on to those drugs? And I think you'll come to exactly the same conclusion as I have.
Members of the jury, before I go over the evidence in this case, I should like, with your lordship's permission, to dispose of one simple point of law. How is it that my client pleads not guilty to possession when he admits that the tablets were indeed in his possession? Well, you see, the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971 sets out various circumstances in which it is perfectly legal to have drugs. At the moment, for example, the 14 Zetamine tablets are in the charge of the clerk. Now, it would not be reasonable, would it, for the clerk to be charged with possession and sent to 7 years in prison? Now, the Act provides that if the defendant takes possession of the drug for the purpose of preventing another from committing an offence, and as soon as possible takes steps to destroy the drug, he is not guilty. And that is precisely what Mr. Peck did. He simply did what you or I would do in the same circumstances. He took the drugs away from a young man who should never have had them. And for that well-intentioned act, he finds himself hauled up into court and facing anything up to 14 years in prison. How did it happen? I think the answer to that lies in the past, more than 8 years in the past, when a very different Gerald Peck, fighting a terrible problem of drug addiction, fell foul of the law. From that day onwards, the police have had him marked down in their files drug offender, and they've been waiting for the chance to grab him again. They send a plainclothes detective, Constable Allard, to spy on him and to try to trap him with a direct approach, an invitation to sell drugs. And they failed. In the end, in desperation, they mounted a full-scale raid. Policemen, policewomen, dogs, and they came up with 14 Zetamin tablets. Not the 100-weight of heroin they had hoped for, but enough to mount a case. Now, Mr. Peck was foolish, perhaps, to keep silent. But you see, Mr. Peck is not a man who loves or trusts our police force over much. He may be right and he may be wrong, but that's how he feels. So he did what any lawyer would have advised. He said nothing and asked to see a solicitor. What you just heard from my learned friend is a skillful piece of character assassination. A great deal of the past dug up and flung in my client's face. A great deal of flimsy and circumstantial evidence stitched together. The smell of pot in the club, the alleged smell of pot, which could have been perfume, and which wasn't cannabis cigarettes because there weren't any. A great many disapproving noises about the way the Mandala Club was run, and you were asked, would you like your son or daughter to go there? Well, let me ask you this. If your son and daughter, God forbid, were hooked on drugs, would you rather they went to see Mr. Peck, who would try to help them and sort them out, or would you rather they went to see Inspector Leonard, who would try to get them sent to prison for as long as he could possibly manage? Members of the jury, the police don't like Mr. Peck. They don't like his club. They don't like the Ad-Egg Trust. The police like a drug user to be a good old-fashioned dope fiend, a monster who should be locked up and shuddered at. But the real dope users are frightened, mixed-up youngsters who need a lot of understanding and a lot of help. They get it from Gerry Peck. My client is an honest man. He came into the witness box and he told you the truth, the whole truth about his attitude to cannabis. Now, he could have lied about that. No doubt it would have helped his case. But he was honest. He gave you the complete picture. And Mr. Bevis backed him up to the hilt. I trust Gerald Peck completely, he said. There are kids who wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for Gerry. He told you himself. The kids trust him. He trusts them. I think that we too should trust Gerry Peck. And I believe that you will.
If you believe that Mr. Peck took the tablets away from another person in order to stop that person breaking the law, and that he took steps as soon as possible to destroy that drug, then you must find him not guilty to both charges. Now, if you believe otherwise, you may find him guilty to the first charge, that of possession. If that is your verdict, you must go on to consider the second charge, that of intent to supply to another. Whether for money or as a gift makes no difference. If you're sure that that was his intention, you must find him guilty to both charges. Now, will you please retire, elect a foreman to speak for you, and consider your verdict.
Will your foreman please stand? Just answer this question, yes or no. Are you agreed upon your verdict on both the charges?
No.
Have at least 10 of you agreed upon your verdict?
No.
Members of the jury, I must thank you for your assistance. The case will be returned for trial at the earliest time.
The cases in Fulchester Crown Court are fictitious, but the jury is composed of members of the general public.